For many of the students, they've had their education interrupted. For many of them, this is going to be the first time that they've been in a public school.
District that's going to take 100 students, there's no mechanism currently that allows for additional, subsidies. And that, in my opinion, has to change.
We need to do something. Eventually, we're not going to be transporting students to school because there's not going to be enough drivers.
We elected you because we trust you to do the right thing for our children, so do it. This isn't how you care about kids. You just care about your bigoted ideas and ignorance. Stop pretending.
This is a Your Voice, Your Future town hall. Crisis in the classroom.
Welcome to Crisis in the Classroom. I'm Armstrong Williams. Portland, Maine is a picturesque city that, like many others, is sadly grappling with an educational crisis. With schools facing budget cuts and mounting pressure to deliver quality education, the future of our youth, the future leaders of our nation, hangs in the balance. Without a proper education, our children will be ill-equipped to tackle the challenges that lie ahead in the future. A high-quality education system is essential to ensuring that the next generation has the tools they need to succeed and thrive in their professional and personal lives. Today, we look at the issues facing Maine's education crisis. An influx of immigrants continued flow into Maine and raises the question how to pay for the education of hundreds of new Mainers arriving each month. School districts are adding more staff and interpreters to meet the need. CBS's 13 Brad Rogers looks at the cost to taxpayers and money the state might allocate to help.
The numbers are staggering.
It's definitely stretching everybody's capacity, right, with these kinds of numbers.
This school year alone, Portland Public Schools has enrolled more than 600 students learning English as a second language. Many are from Angola in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
For many of the students, they've had their education interrupted. For many of them, this is going to be the first time that they've been in a public school.
State Representative Michael Brennan, a former Portland mayor, serves on the State Education Committee. He says last year lawmakers put $500,000 into the budget, divided between the Saco, South Portland, and Brunswick districts, to help with the added cost of educating new Mainers.
So far this year, the Department of Education has recommended $1 million. The Education Committee just recommended $1.5 million specifically that purpose. I don't think, given the numbers that we've seen, that's going to be enough. So we may have to advocate for additional funding.
Brunswick and Saco schools are now looking at adding an additional 100 to 120 students from new Maine families.
New Mainers require additional supports. They're obviously learning the language.
Brunswick superintendent is looking at a near 10% hike in property taxes to cover the cost of inflation, higher teacher salaries, and additional staff for asylum-seeking students.
A district that's going to take 100 students, there's no mechanism currently that allows for additional, subsidies. And that, in my opinion, has to change.
Raising taxes is also on the table in Portland schools.
Certainly property taxes is one of our primary sources of revenue, so that has to be on the table.
But hopefully in the long run, these are families that are going to become part of communities throughout the state of Maine, become part of the workforce, and contribute immensely to the future of the state.
School funding is such a critical issue. We welcome to the set CBS 13 grade Lagerquist. We're talking about these asylum seekers. I just read just today 100,000 migrant children cannot be accounted for across the country.
Yeah, and that's part of the larger crisis that's happening right now, which is an incredibly complex and large situation that's going on. And here in our own corner of Maine, I mean, just since January of this year, we've seen 1,000 asylum-seeking families have arrived in Portland alone. And these, of course, this isn't talk about the children who may have been separated from their families at the border. These are legal asylum seekers who've ended up in the city of Portland, and then spreading through other parts of southern Maine as well. And for the most part, they're coming from Angola. They're coming from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And they're legally here. The issue is that these are families that, by law, the taxpayers need to support them. They are forbidden by law from working for a set period of time, 6 months to a year after they arrive. and yet they are required to get, well, basic human necessities, food, shelter, access to health care. And all of that comes at a cost. And Portland, again, 1,000 families for a city like maybe New York or Chicago or Los Angeles, although I know they're having their own crises when it comes to this issue. Portland is a city of maybe 65, 70,000 people. Now, granted, there's the greater Portland area, but when you're talking about 1,000 families in a population of maybe 65, 70,000, that's a number that comes with consequences. That's extremely difficult for the communities to absorb. And we already have a housing crisis, by the way, in the city. We already have a shortage of housing for working families in Maine. We already have a homeless crisis that's happening right now. And adding on to that, now you have the pressure of all these families who are arriving who need support. And frankly, the system is sort of bowing underneath that weight right now.
In Washington, D.C., similar situation. And the migrants, what they're not talking about is having the most difficult time adjusting to America's food, America's culture, America's way of life, its living conditions. While it may seem that they're assimilating, but it's not. It's really a crisis that is developing.
It's a big challenge. And,
yes.
And interestingly enough, I mean, obviously, as you know, asylum seekers have a limited ability to choose where they want to go. Yeah. And we had this happen in Maine in 2019. A lot of Congolese and Angolan refugees arrived in southern Maine. And even though they got the word that it was cold here, perhaps colder than they're used to, they got the word that it was welcoming and that this was a place where, frankly, there were social services available to them. There was goodwill amongst the people of Maine to absorb them. And Maine, quite frankly, has historically had an issue when it comes to net out migration. We've been losing our young people in Maine. And I know a lot of businesses have been seeing this as a potential opportunity to absorb people and have new workers.
But wealth
in the
is an
short
issue.
term,
Wealth is an issue here for them.
Yeah, and
it is. I know.
Yeah, and in the short term, though, you've got to. I mean, how can you? At our schools, for example, Portland right now is trying to set their next budget. They're talking about a 6% increase, about $11 million onto next year's budget, largely because of inflation, but also because of trying to absorb asylum seekers and these young people in these families. And it's very resource intensive. I mean, it's how can you teach, reading, writing, history, computer programming, all those other subjects when you first have to make sure they understand English. They're learning English as a second language. That's very resource intensive. There's a lot of special needs involved. And frankly, too, a lot of these families, some of them have been traveling for years to get here. There's some trauma there as well.
Shock.
Yeah, there's shock and trauma. And you mentioned sort of the assimilation issue. In 2019, I know that we had a lot of, as I said, like Congolese families who arrived in Maine. A lot of those folks who decided to stay, and after they got through that period where they could finally start working, I know LL Bean has talked about how they've hired some folks. We talked to a person whose family had traveled for 2 or 3 years through Brazil, and finally into the United States, and finally to Maine. And a couple of years later, he's working at LL Bean. And some of these other families, though, are now helping to support the newcomers, help them with that sort of cultural.
And there are many newcomers. The good thing about Greg is you can watch him every night, right here on CBS. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us this update. This is Crisis in the Classroom. Steve Robinson is editor-in-chief of the Maine Wire. We thank you so much for joining us for our town hall on crisis in the classroom. This whole situation with the crisis in the classroom, you're being a political reporter, it's just so wacky. It's so not even normal. It doesn't even seem to make sense where we're accepting something that a decade ago would have been unthinkable.
Well, I think that's a key point here. A lot of the things that we're seeing they're so recent. And they're really what you're looking at is a progressive political experiment that's unfolding in classrooms right now. Experimental ideas, very experimental ideas. 10 years ago, this stuff was the domain of college classrooms. Gender and women's studies were majors were learning about this kind of stuff. But now they're in public schools throughout the country, and they're teaching it to children, young children, impressionable children, oftentimes without their parents' knowledge. What we've seen here in Maine really is 2 prongs of an educational experiment unfolding, one under the banner of queer theory, the other under the banner of critical race theory. And the vehicle that they're using to bring this into the classroom is something called social and emotional learning, which has become a buzzword that I'm sure a lot of parents have heard of, but unless you take your time to study it and to really learn what the facts are, You're just going to know the platitudes that the principal or the superintendent has told you about helping kids learn to self-regulate, helping children learn to be good, responsible citizens. But when you get down to the base of it, it really is a pernicious political experiment that they're running that's going to have, I think, long-term consequences that are in many ways unpredictable.
But they know what they're doing.
Some of them do. Some of them do.
How have we got to the point where the needs of the very few outweigh the needs of the many, the majority?
Well, I think a lot of parents, to a certain extent, have to accept blame in this situation for stepping back from their schools and saying, you know, I don't need to run for school board. I don't need to be involved in local government. I'm just going to trust that the school has my best interest, my child's best interest at heart, because while they were away running a business or trying to be successful or manage some other aspect of their lives, a certain group of political actors took over the public school systems. And what we're dealing with now is the fallout of that. And it's materialized in skyrocketing mental health issues, especially here in Maine. Even the progressive education commissioner, Pender Macon, she has said that the biggest problem we have now is skyrocketing mental health issues. Serious detachment, a lack of attendance, very real problems in our school system. They also just kind of spiked when she got on the job. She hasn't yet taken ownership of it or connected this rise in mental health issues
Why did it
with the
spike?
political ideas. Well, that's a very good question. That's a very good question.
What did she do different
Well, it also
that accelerated it?
You have to keep in mind that it coincided with the COVID-19 closing the classrooms.
So they took advantage of it.
I think in many ways they did, but also they changed the testing system in the state of Maine. And right now the federal Department of Education is actually threatening to withhold money from the state of Maine because our testing regime is not in accord with federal rules.
So what did they change in the testing regime?
They changed to it gets kind of complicated, the testing measures that they use, but what the situation is now that you can't have an apples to apples comparison of where were kids 5 years ago and where they are now in terms of reading, writing, and their math ability. What we do know is that there's been a decline in the scores, like kids are struggling with the basics in Maine schools. But what we do know is that they can tell you what every single rainbow flag means. Mm-hmm. We do know that they can tell you the difference between, say, a pansexual and a demisexual, because that's being loud and celebrated, and that's pushed to the forefront. But math, algebra, reading comprehension, those are all things that are struggling. To the limited extent we can still look at the testing and it's usable information.
Do you think they really get, I mean, let's take a step back. You hear about, you saw what happened in Chicago with these massive teenagers without parental guidance trying to get into this park. Son died. You see the shootings in Nashville and Kentucky. Don't people really understand that when kids don't really have self-worth, real self-esteem, real skills, or real education, these are the lives, this is where they normally end up, in the penal system, in sexual trafficking, petty theft, homicide, incarceration. Do they really understand, do they really care about where these kids are going to be 12, 10, 9 years from now?
You would hope that they do, but we're fortunate here in Maine that we don't have situations unfolding like just happened in Chicago.
But it could.
It could. It very well could. But also, if you look at the community Fairfield in northern Maine or the community Rockland in coastal Maine, both of those communities have been dealing with small groups of teenagers who are committing petty offenses like this. But there's no social media video of it, and there's no social media outrage, so people in the state don't know that it's happening. But local law enforcement there have struggled because you have a restorative justice approach that has taken over the state, where if they have arrested somebody or detained them for the 6th time in a month for vandalism or larceny or something, there's really nothing that they can do to them from a criminal justice perspective. They're just going to get released. So Maine does struggle in terms of how are we going to enforce our laws against the youth without, on the one hand, being authoritarian and ruining a kid's life just because he made some stupid mistakes, but also balancing the needs and the rights of property holders and law-abiding citizens.
I don't think many people would believe that you would be harsh and draconian for accountability and responsibility.
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, that's the conversation you're having right now in Maine. In Cumberland County, there was a Soros-funded district attorney who just won the election in November, and her entire approach is about restorative justice and how the just equitable way that the law is enforced is to not prosecute most crimes.
You know, I think the big question for you as we wrap this, what has happened to parochial and classical education?
It's been cast by the wayside. That's the, you know, all of the people who wrote the great books, they were all old white men, and our current school leaders in Maine think that there's nothing to be learned from them. They think that the best thing that we can do for young kids is to teach them about equity and about racism, historical injustice, and also about gender theory. That you know, there's only so many hours in a day to teach these kids, and if you bring in more and more of these progressive, politically experimental ideas, you got to cut something. And what they've cut is math, reading, and classical education, the stuff that you know, even someone as young as I grew up with.
And in all the things that you've mentioned, when do they have the quality time to learn math, reading, arithmetic, and writing?
Well, that's just it. They don't, and we see that in the test scores. You know, we no longer have the basics in our schools because what has overtaken that is a focus on, again, these progressive political experiments, and we don't know how it's going to work out. We're going to find out 5-10 years from now if we still have the engineers we need for society to function when we've pushed everything into, you know, gender theory, queer theory, critical race theory. We're going to have a lot of social workers. We're going to have a lot of public school teachers, but will we have the engineers and scientists and you know, the hard sciences that we're going to need in order to flourish as a robust economy?
But your clarion call is what was once defined as an American education has been totally obliterated and redefined.
I would say that my clarion call, if I have one, is that public education is going to go away naturally unless something is done to fix it. Whether it's people on the left, people on the right, they need to come together and agree that public education is important and should be saved. Because since COVID started, there's 1 million missing students from the public school system. They're either in private school, they're being homeschooled. We don't really know where all of these students went. But the COVID closures was the signal for them to do something else because the public school system failed them. And that's going to continue. And I think over time, if the public schools don't start delivering a product that parents want, they're going to take their kids out. And the problem is it's going to be parents who are involved in their kids' education who are taking their parents out. So the schools will go into a death spiral because all that's going to be left in them are some of the students whose parents are less involved and aren't necessarily there to make that decision to pull them out. So the quality, frankly, is on a downward trajectory at this moment, but no one seems to be paying attention to it. No one seems to be sounding a call. Well, here, the main people who are running the schools.
You're paying attention. I love your tie. People.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for caring. This is Crisis in the Classroom. Our new book, Crisis in the Classroom, written by Dr. Benjamin Carson and famed civil rights attorney Ben Crump and myself, looks at the new civil rights in America educating our children. Booker T. Washington said, and I quote, "It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." Get a copy of our book wherever it's sold in bookstores or Amazon.com. If you have an issue in your school you'd like us to know about, you can contact us anytime at our Crisis in the Classroom tip line at the number on your screen. That's 207-200-3380. Next on Crisis in the Classroom, we look at what books, if any, should be banned in our libraries. Are inappropriate books getting offered to our kids, or are parents looking to censor? Stay with us.
Calling the illustrations graphic and likening it to pornography. Some parents in RSU 14 want the book Genderqueer, a Memoir removed from their schools.
You have indeed committed a Class C felony, which serves up to 5 years in prison and up to a $5,000 fine.
The book was not on the school board's agenda Wednesday night. Some parents used public comment to voice their concerns.
We need to have them stop handing out pornography, no matter how you identify or anything else. I have really nothing against anybody, but this is absurd and everybody knows it. Thank you.
Others defended the book.
These books increase teens' feelings of belonging and self-worth with messages of acceptance and encouragement. This isn't how you care about kids. You just care about your bigoted ideas and ignorance. Stop pretending and just support these trans kids. They always have a lot.
A panel of RSU 14 school officials are currently reviewing the book. But some Republicans want more. For example, State Senator James Libby of Standish has proposed a bill that he says would protect children from inappropriate material and set a standard for what is allowed in schools. The Maine Association of School Libraries are pushing back, warning of unintended consequences if this law were enforced.
Even if it were enforceable, you'd end up locking up every librarian, every art teacher, every health teacher, every English teacher in the state. Would take all the educational exceptions for obscenity away.
As for Wyndham and Raymond, the community awaits a decision.
We elected you because we trust you to do the right thing for our children, so do it.
Joining us now is Scott McDonald, ARS U14 parent. You know, Scott, self-worth, belonging is what someone said in the audience about the queer book. Are they misguided?
I don't think, and it's not just this book, there's many books and some of them are a lot more graphic than this. I'm worried about the self-worth. These books are condoning, not just condoning, but putting in a good light, child-on-child abuse, animal abuse, incest between parents and daughters, abuse, put in a good light. Pornography isn't something that the kids should see.
But these are children, though. Let's
children.
Let's set this point. These are children. These are not adults.
These are not adults. Adults, I mean, I'm against some of that stuff, but I'm not worried about adults. They can take care of themselves.
And in the classroom.
In the classroom or in the libraries, I don't think we need such graphic and...
But I'm trying to understand, because I know you've gone through these books. How does it, is it their experience that they bring when they say self-worth and belonging? Is it that they don't understand the impact? Because the person in the package seemed to be sincere. This is what they really believed.
The kids that are doing these things that are in the book, I'm afraid that they don't have a lot of self-worth. They are
damaged.
It's damaging kids. And this stuff isn't even normal stuff, sexual stuff that kids might learn in sex ed or something. This is far beyond that, and it's very graphic, and I could not believe, well, we saw the 11-year-old reading out of one book, and that book was not by any means the worst book. It's the only one I think his father would let him read.
Let's talk about some of the other books that you've seen and read. That is really...
I really can't even talk about them on the air. There is there's a cat book. About a young girl with a cat, and let your mind go from there, I guess. There's a young girl with her father, and she's trying to please daddy. These things, and these things are being put in a good light, and they're more graphic than when the kids used to read Playboy or Penthouse or something. This is far beyond that, and it's making it normal. It's normalizing it for these kids. And I don't think any adult should be giving this stuff to kids, but especially an adult that's in a higher position, that the kids are told by everybody to listen to basically that's as bad as it gets.
How do you get to a place where a publisher is even allowed to print books like this that goes into a classroom? Shouldn't there be some pecking order to make sure that this is approved?
There should be. I've been going to school board meetings now. I've missed a few because of an illness, but I've been, and my boys have been going to them, and boy, it's been a long time now, and those books are still, they're reviewing them and stuff. These books should be taken out of the school until they are reviewed to come into the school. Not the other way around,
yes,
leave them there till they're, these are really graphic, harmful books.
But it seems from what we've read and what we've seen, the overwhelming majority agrees with you.
Yes.
But it doesn't seem to be enough. Why?
I don't know. Pornography has been at the push of a button now for all kids for the last 10 years. I I think society is falling down a bad path, I think. And I think that the older people now that are writing these books, I think it was normalized for them through the internet and other things. My kids have things on their phones where they can't go to certain sites. I'm sure they get by things, they go to friends' houses, but it's not this barrage where they're putting it in their faces, and to do it at a school, in a school setting, is just awful.
I think what it really comes down to is who really gets to make this decision for these kids. Is it you, the parent? Is it the administrator? Is it some private clandestine group of people that we're not aware of? Who makes this decision?
Well, normally everybody would make it through their vote because we need to have laws. And I always thought there were laws that against giving someone underage pornography. But evidently there's and I know why they did it.
Why did they do it?
Because they want to be able to have sex ed in schools, which
But
I'm
you
not
don't consider this sex education.
Not if it's not pornographic.
So what would you consider to be sex education that would be appropriate?
Teaching responsibilities, teaching self-worth, teaching good habits, teaching things like that. That's something that
teaching not to allow somebody to touch you inappropriately.
Exactly, and maybe wait to have kids, or you know what to do to have kids. There's a lot of good things to talk to your kids about sex.
You know what I'm struck by? Even you as an adult is very uncomfortable even having this conversation, as much as you've been involved in. Imagine the impact that it's having on little children.
I see it. I saw it in that kid that was reading that book the other day at the school board meeting, and a lot of others just like him. And these are kids younger than them that are getting this. It really worries me. You're creating a dangerous, bad situation, and this isn't even reality, the things that are in these books. This is above and beyond even reality. Nobody lives, maybe some people do, but this isn't a normal life of these people that are in these books.
So how do we not cross the line into censorship and celebrate what separates us from everybody else, free speech?
Okay, I'm not trying to not let you read them. I'm not trying to not let any adult. I am talking about my tax money going to buy these books for the kids to have in school. When they're in school, they're supposed to be safe. They have these safe spaces and everything else. Well, let's make the library a safe place and get this pornography out of there. I know a lot of these kids are going to see it at home or on the internet or everywhere else. But the school should be a safe place. When you drop your kid off at school, you should expect to go back and pick them up that night or have them get off the bus without any damage being done. They might not have learned a lot of English or math or whatever, but you don't expect any damage to have been done, and you don't expect adults to be talking to your kids about these graphic books without period.
Do you think that parents, imagine you as a parent not aware this is being taught, and you're communicating with your kid and they're trying to explain what they're being taught to the kids. Don't you think at some level parents should be aware of what their kids are being taught, especially when it comes to something like this?
Well, most people I talk to, they just assume that the school is looking out for the kids. Nobody would ever think that these books would be in these, one of my kids came home one day with a book about how God gave you hands to thumbs to play with yourself, and the person had relations with a tree, and this was a book that they had to read.
Mandatory.
When I didn't read the whole book, but I read to the part where, my son showed me it was in the beginning of the book.
You actually saw it?
Yes, and so I went and I told the school that I did not want my kids reading that school. Well,
and the school was not alarmed when they saw this?
No, and they didn't really know what to say when I told them what was in the book.
What was the name of the book? Or you don't remember?
An Indian absolute real diary of an Indian or something along that line. Then they gave it to my other kid. I told them I did not want my kids to have any books with sexually explicit or against God or anything weird. I wanted them to have basically school books. The following year, they gave it to my other son without batting an eyelash.
And you
So
decided you had to fight. You had to protest this.
Yeah, my
You had
kids
to
are
step-
homeschooled
Look,
now.
I cannot, oh wow, Scott McDonald, I cannot thank you enough for joining us to bring more light to how dire this situation is with this sexual explicit material in the classroom with little children. Hopefully we'll have you back in the future.
All right, and if I could just say, there are some bills out there. I think we need to have school choice so that when these things are done, we can choose to take our tax dollars to another school. That would have helped me, and it would help a lot of other people. A lot of people can't homeschool. This would allow them to do something different. And as far as they say that it'll remove all obscenity from school, that's the plan, is to remove all obscenity from school.
Scott McDonald, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us for Crisis in the Classroom.
Thank you.
We have a bus driver shortage in Maine. How is the state going to help? We look into this major problem when Crisis in the Classroom continues. Stay with us.
All over the state, there's a bus driver shortage, forcing many school districts to cancel routes or make last-minute changes. The impact causing frustration for everyone.
It's been rough. I have wondered about just keeping him home instead of trying to hassle finding a ride.
In December, the Auburn School District had to cancel numerous bus runs for several weeks in a row. A month later, Lewiston faced a similar issue where a lack of drivers was compounded by illness. Caitlin Gagne has 3 children in Lewiston schools and has had to make tough decisions when routes are canceled.
I've kept them home days that I can't get them there.
The issue now before lawmakers who are debating a bill aimed at making it easier to become a school bus driver. Right now, drivers need a commercial license, which requires months of studying and testing. Some lawmakers, bus lines, and districts want to change the Maine law so potential school bus drivers don't have to undergo the same testing as people driving 18-wheelers.
They don't need to know how to, tie down a load and hang meat on a truck and, those things they just don't need to know.
This is something that is not political. It's not D's versus ours. This is just common sense. Let's address this. Let's fix it. And let's fix it quickly because we are in crisis mode.
We need to do something. Eventually, we're not going to be transporting students to school because there's not going to be enough drivers.
Supporters of this bill say Maine has one of the safest records for bus drivers in the nation and that this idea won't compromise student safety. In Portland, I'm Jeff Peterson, CBS 13.
The bill regarding bus drivers is currently in committee. It had a public hearing last month, but has not yet moved forward. Joining us now is Ike Heffron, Limestone Transportation Director. Ike, was this situation avoidable?
I believe it was. Back in 2022, they went to the federal standards of motor carrier for Class B bus drivers and truck drivers. They have to take, a school bus driver now has to take the same training to drive an 18-wheeler down the highway throughout the country, which a school bus driver here in the state of Maine does not need to know that.
So you don't think safety or anything else is being compromised with this bill before the legislature?
No, I do not see that this bill right now in legislature in the committee would change anything to do with the safety aspect of it. We'd still be required to do our written test, our road test, our pre-trips and post-trips of our buses. We'd still be required to have a Class B bus license with a CDL endorsement for air brakes on the bus.
I'm sorry, continue.
Ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, please continue.
Which, with all that, it keeps us in our safety aspect of it. But at right now, currently, we have to also know air brakes for tractor-trailer trucks and their trailers, their loss, tie-down loads, how to put, how many miles down the road you have to stop, check your loads. You go to school for almost a year now before you can get certified to be a bus driver.
How soon before parents can see relief, do you think?
if this bill was to go through and the state could mandate just a separate classification for bus drivers, I would think it would be within a year. If the bill don't go through, I think you're going to see a worse crisis than we're having right now. I'm a director of transportation and facilities director here at Limestone Community School. I'm in a bus mornings and nights. I'm driving 4 hours a day roughly because we can't get enough drivers. My old school district, MSAD 72, they're canceling runs right and left down in Freiburg. They don't have enough drivers. Right now they have a lady that's 72 years old that's still driving for them.
You know, when someone hears a year, which is the worst of the scenarios, it does seem like a long time. Will there still be chaos within that year as they iron this out?
I believe there'd still be some chaos, but not as much. If they looked at, I have several drivers that was bus drivers that's retired in the past couple of years that lost their passenger and school endorsements. If those guys could just go back and take the written test for their passenger and school endorsement, not take the whole federal standards of class A and B driving, those guys could be back on the road within a couple weeks.
Oh, that's a good point. All right, listen, man, thank you so much for joining us, using common sense to explain this so everyday Mainers can understand it, and we appreciate having you on. Thank you for joining us. Joining us now is Melanie Vandekum from CYR Bus Lines. Melanie, welcome to Crisis in the Classroom.
Thank you very much.
I don't want people to think that this is just a crisis in Portland, Maine, the bus shortage. It has happened all across the country. I remember in Massachusetts a couple of years ago, Melanie, when they had this problem, they had to bring in the National Guard. Do you see Washington County and the state reaching that point where they would have to do the same?
Well, I can't specifically speak for Washington County, but I can speak on that it is a dire need. In another 5 to 10 years, I am sure they're going to have to do some drastic measures, whether it's going to be the parents taking them to school every day or the National Guard. Yeah, they might have to do that.
I noticed that school administrators have qualified for the CDL license just to help with the shortage, but that doesn't seem to be enough.
That's correct. We're more than just 1 or 2 people shorthanded. We are many, many shorthanded.
You know what? Listen, you're an old hat at this. You have a lot of experience and wisdom. What needs to happen to change this?
Well, we've been experiencing this for, now going on close to 30 years. And every year it's just been getting a little less and a little less people coming in and applying for school busing. And then you add on the demands of the federal government in order to get a school bus license. And we've been working down in Augusta to hopefully ease up, maybe change, maybe streamline the curriculum for school busing, and hope, because you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. So maybe this will be enough change to draw people in, because it does take so long to get a school bus license.
I tell you what's really shocking, I don't know if many people are aware, you even upped the hourly salary from $14 to $21 an hour. That's substantial.
That is substantial, and we thought that would draw people in too, because everybody says we don't pay school bus drivers enough, but we are really a great part-time job per hour. They get paid quite a bit, and they get benefits too.
So listen, having parents with all the other issues they're dealing with when you have this crisis in education, having the burden and they have to drive their kid to schools, I don't think that's an alternative that you want to happen. Am I correct?
No. That's correct. And then you have to think about all the other children, because this is about the children that don't have the same ability to be able to be brought back and forth to school. What's going to happen to them? We don't want to go down that path.
It seems as though if it's not a shortage of buses, the national test scores are dropping, the kids are not performing well in the critical areas of math, science, and arithmetic. It just seems like there's always something. How much more can the school system take before it gets a break?
Oh, I know. I have to agree with you. It's a burden on all, not just transportation, but also in the classroom too.
But how do you, in the role that you're in, where people look to you for leadership and solutions, how do you keep people calm and patient until this situation changes?
Well, you have to support them, you have to listen to them, and you always have to be there and tell them that they're doing a great job. And you try to help them with some solutions. Maybe they're having problems with different things with their family life or at work, and you just try to have that open ear to listen and to help out.
Melody Vanakim, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for what you do in terms of service to your state and your community.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
And this is Crisis in the Classroom. Are we as taxpayers getting our money's worth? Next, we look at the report card from our educators. Why are our kids getting low scores? Stay with Crisis in the Classroom. Welcome back to our important discussion on this edition of Crisis in the Classroom. I'm Armstrong Williams. With student performance declining in many public schools, parents, teachers, and even kids are looking for solutions. As Kayla Gaskins reports, some believe offering school choice could be the solution.
In Illinois, increased spending on education resulting in lower test scores statewide.
We're spending a record amount of money on education right now, but our student outcomes are going down.
From 2019 to 2022, the state pumped close to $1 billion additional dollars into public schools. Over the same time period, data shows reading proficiency dropping 7%. Math scores slipping 6%. Last October, the organization opened the books, publishing a report analyzing Illinois teacher salaries, finding 500 educators made between $200,000 and $439,000 a year.
4 out of every 10 are below the poverty line. And so that kind of compensation in a school such as this, that is a moral outrage.
In Baltimore City, Maryland, one of the best funded public school systems in the country, 23 schools in the district had not a single student test proficient in math.
The GOP latching on to this frustration. Republican-led states across the country expanding school choice programs.
The debate over introducing school choice in Alabama heating up.
And not every public school is able to serve every single student.
Critics voicing concerns.
It literally is a question of how do we help our public schools? You certainly don't help them by removing $500 million from their revenues.
Earlier this year, Iowa passing some of the most expansive school choice programs in the country. Republican presidential contender Nikki Haley voicing her support for Iowa's program during a recent visit to the state.
We would not have problems in education if we put education back where it needs to be, in the hands of the parents. We have to have school choice all over this country.
Haley's comments, yet another indicator education will play a key role in the GOP's efforts to take back the White House in 2024. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
And welcome to Crisis in the Classroom. Nicholas Giordano is professor of political science at Suffolk Community College and a campus reform higher education fellow. Thanks so much for joining us. You know, why does the gap in achievement continues, not only just in the education in Portland, but across the country? I know we talk about putting it back in the hands of parents, we talk about school choice, but the gap continues to widen. What are we missing, Professor?
Well, people haven't been paying attention, and the whole education system has fundamentally collapsed, particularly in the poor urban areas. Unfortunately, there are those who continue to make it as if it's a money issue. We've been throwing more money at the problem for the last 30 years, and yet the problem's getting worse and worse. And then you had the coronavirus come along, and the pandemic widened the academic achievement gaps to the widest levels they've ever been, because you had the union officials colluding with government officials and keeping schools closed in the poorest of areas, the students that are most in need, for nearly 2 years. Where if you went into suburban communities, most of those schools stayed shut for either 3 months, 6 months, or a year. So unfortunately, we're having to play catch up now, but that's not working. The school system has failed, and we're seeing it throughout the entire country. Proficiency levels are at 30-year lows. ACT scores, SAT scores have dropped by 30%. Places like New York are performing twice below the national average. It's a crisis. And we are the ones that consistently say that these are the future leaders of our country. So why aren't we treating them that way? And I think that's why every parent is starting to get outraged. I mean, listen, we invest $1.4 trillion a year in our education system. That's more than every single country. The next closest is Germany at $300 billion a year. So where is all this money going? And if the schools, the public schools, aren't meeting their objectives, if they're not educating the students, it's time to put the control in the parents' hands, and they should be able to pull those children from the failing schools and put them in schools that will actually educate.
Professor Giordano, let's go back. Before the 60s, 78% of American black families had a strong two-parent household. 78% of these parents were literate, and they were better educated before the civil rights legislation ever put in place than where we are today. What has so dramatically changed?
Well, it's an interesting question that you bring up, and you're right. The family unit has played a major role in part of the collapse of the education system, not only the family unit, but the family dynamics. And what I mean by that is we have more Americans being born into single-parent households today. In the black communities, it's upwards of 75%. In the Hispanic and white communities, it's at 50%, and the numbers only get worse. Then you factor in, even in two-parent households, both parents are working all day long. When they get home, many of them have to cook and take care of their children. And so they don't necessarily have time to sit there and go through the homework at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night and reinforce what the children are learning throughout the day. So I think we have the school failures itself, where we're not effectively teaching the students. I think you have the family dynamic, which is a much larger problem throughout our society. And then you have to include the technological component. That's also changed the way students learn. What we see is students don't read anymore. In fact, the Kaiser Family Foundation came out with a survey where students used to read about 50 to 120 minutes a day. Now it's down to about 30 minutes a day. Students aren't reading. Even when they are reading, they're distracted by the electronic devices that are right next to them. Their phone's buzzing every 2 minutes with updates. And so they're not retaining the information. Now we factor in the technology changes like ChatGPT, and we don't know what the future holds with that because it's so new. But it's a problem across the board, and unfortunately, nobody's talking about it in a serious fashion to really tackle this issue. But as the sole superpower of the world, we should be ashamed when we rank 25th in the international rankings. And I will guarantee when the OECD does the rankings in the next year or two, I can guarantee you the United States will drop further.
I didn't want to make a blanket indictment that this is a crisis just with black families. I mean, you have the same crisis here in Portland, Maine, among white families and all across the country. It seems as though it's impacting everybody now. Why?
It is. I think that the coronavirus, the reaction to the pandemic itself really exposed how deep the failures are within our education system. And a lot of it has to do with us moving away from the original intent of what education is about. Education was built on the framework in the 1830s, 1840s on the idea of instilling a sense of discipline, instilling sense of citizenry within the student body, creating children to become productive members within the society. Reading, writing, math were also important in these curriculums. And yet we somehow moved away from it, where we're no longer teaching about the 3 R's. We don't teach about American government. Most students can't even pass a basic citizenship exam. And a lot of it being pushed is issues and ideas that really shouldn't be introduced in a K through 12 system, or at least K through 8th grade. And that's where we're seeing a lot of the biggest failures is in 3rd and 8th grade with the proficiency exams. But the biggest part of the problem is that we cycle students through, right? So during the pandemic, we saw the failures. Students were not learning. We see the proficiency numbers, yet they were each able to graduate and go to the next grade. Nobody was held left back. And so what did we do? We put them in an unfair disadvantage where they didn't even learn and master the material they were supposed to. Now they're going into another grade level. They're already behind, and they're only going to fall further behind. So this problem is actually going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Obviously, there's a crisis in education quickly, if you had to recommend something for parents to do in about 45 seconds in the household when the kid is not in school, what would it be?
Talk to your children, make sure you know what they're learning, and try and reinforce the good things they're learning. Do homework with them, sit with them, have conversations with them, and that will help.
Professor Nicholas Giordano, thank you so much for joining us here for this very important topic about the crisis, not only in the classroom in Portland, Maine, but all across America.
Thank you for having me.
Wow. As we've seen, the importance of education for our young people and the future of America is so critical. As we continue to explore the critical issues for facing our educational system, it is our hope, that by shedding light on these struggles, we can work together to create a brighter future for our students and our nation. By working together, we can identify the issues and develop practical solutions. And in doing so, we can ensure that our students receive the education they deserve and are prepared to lead the nation towards a prosperous future. Thank you for watching Crisis in the Classroom. I'm Armstrong Williams.